we're not divorced from that time period, from Juneteenth in 1865 and what happened afterwards. I mean, the hope that there would be equality was there, but we know from the very beginning it was met with a backlash, and it's a backlash that seems to be still going on today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Unmuted. I'm Brittany Jones Cooper, and today I'm chatting with historian and Harvard University professor Annette Gordon-Reed. Reed won the Pulitzer Prize for History, and her new book on Juneteenth blends her personal story with the complex history of Texas. You write about integrating your elementary school. What do you remember about that pioneering experience?
Well, I remember the intensity of it. There were people who would come to the door, sort of observe what was going on because there was a Black kid in this class, and it was an experiment. And so I knew I was kind of on display. I'd learned later on that there were some threats against my family. My parents were doing things that they thought would advance the ball on the question of race.
Incredibly courageous, and it sounds like strategic in providing opportunities for you, but also protecting you. So many people are learning about Juneteenth for the first time. How do you explain the significance of Juneteenth?
For me, the significance is that we don't really have another day that so many people recognize and reflect upon the end of slavery in the United States. My great-grandmother knew someone intimately who had been in that institution. Her mother had been born enslaved, and she had been freed as a child. I got a sense of what that day meant to people who had, learned that they were free after Juneteenth. It's significant because there should be a day when we think about that, reflect upon their joy at that particular moment, even though they knew things weren't going to be perfect, even after slavery was over. Just a decade later, they would limit Black voting and initiate an era of Jim Crow that lasted into the 1960s, and that links to me, to my story. So it's a day to think about that, and I think that should be done on a national level.
Last year, Juneteenth was trending on Google, and there's a push to make it a national holiday now. Do you have any fear that it will become just hyper-commercialized like so many other holidays are?
There's almost nothing that Americans can't make commercial, but it was the end of slavery. It was a momentous and a positive thing in the United States of America, and it shouldn't go unmarked.
Yeah, I think it's also important to think about the people and the spirit that they had, the survival. That's what I try to remember on that day, is that I come from this lineage of survivors who had this spirit that got us to this day.
Exactly. It's worthwhile to go back and think about the hope that these people have, and think of what we're doing to have those hopes fulfilled, what we can do to make sure that the struggle, that this journey continues in the right direction.
I want to thank you, Annette, for joining us today and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.